Okay. All right. So, I think we got almost most of the folks in. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Okay. Last time I think I asked you all to try to download this worksheet, and it should look like this when you download it. Download it as a Word doc so that you can write on it. Now, I'm not collecting this. This is a review sheet for you. Okay. Okay. So you can use this time to go through and work on this. So yesterday we completed the worksheet that you did have to upload. So make sure that you uploaded a copy of the cell transport worksheet that we completed in class yesterday. And then just go through and look at this. And actually, now that I think almost everybody's here, I'm going to just run through and stop sharing for a minute while I find the near part I want you to look at. Okay, that's not the right one. Okay, come back. All right, if you go to module CCT, Sales and Transport Review page, it should be the last thing in the module. I'll share again. That should be, so if we're looking at the module, we're at the end of the CCT module. And at the end of the CCT module, you'll see Sales and Cell Transport Review page. And that'll take you to, you have two choices: to download the worksheet as a PDF. PDF, you won't be able to write on it, but if you download it as a Word doc, you can convert it to an edit form and you'll be able to write on it. So when you download that, it should give you this worksheet. And again, you're not sending this to me, this is for you. So and basically we're at the end of a unit. Okay, somebody did say it's blocked for you. Okay, okay, they did tell me that there's a way to do this. Is it blocked for anybody else? Anybody else have it blocked? It's blocked for you too? Okay, let me come out of this. Uh, Two people in the waiting room. Okay, now that we got everybody in, let me go to GoGuardian and see why it is blocking your worksheet. Or does it? All right, it's assigned in there. Okay. Well, Allie, I wonder how you got it in. Okay, over here. Because it shouldn't be blocked because it's within the module. So I'm not quite sure why that's blocked. Okay. All right. Let's see. Choose an engine. Um, all right. If everybody's on the worksheet, so I see some of you not on the right worksheet. So you need to be on the page that says CCT review wrap up. So be on that page at least. And let's see if I can get everybody unlocked. Disable browsing for students. All right, see if you can. I clicked on something and see if you can unlock it now.
It works now.
It
It's
does?
unblocked.
Okay. I just clicked on the little button that says Lighthouse Allowed. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. There we go. All right, so everybody at this time. Okay. Okay, so now that my GoGuardian is on, everybody ought to be able to get the worksheet downloaded. So now is there anybody who can't get the worksheet? So again, you're at CCT, the review, cell transport review. You're going to download the Word document so that you can write on it. All right, Isabella, on my screen, yours is just going round and round. So are you able to get it? Okay. All right, Landon, you just came in. We are on Canvas, and you're downloading the review worksheet for cell transport. This should be the last. It's blocked again. Yours is still blocked. All right, okay, what'd you say? It comes off momentarily, so I'm gonna end the session and I'm gonna go back in. All right, go to your classes. All right, so I'm gonna go back in and start the GoGuardian again. Um, Oops. I guess it has to pick everybody back up again. All right, so that's why I said it was important for everybody to be on that page when I click this button so that it'll release everybody at the same time. Okay, it's still not saying. And I don't understand why, because it's a Canvas. Where did Landon go? Did Landon get kicked out? All right. Okay, I see you got kicked out, but you're back. And I see you logged in twice. It kicked you out, but did you Ariana, did you log in on a different device? Because you logged in twice. Okay, there you go. But you're upside down, but you're in. Yeah, he told us about it, and I'm looking at the tab that says, um, and at first, the first time I was in, it let me, it said to unlock everything that was in Lighthouse because this is in the module. So you should have been able to access it. Now I can't, it's not giving me that choice. I don't know why. But I tell you what, we're not going to worry about that right now. We'll worry about it next class. But that was just a review sheet. So I tell you what I'm going to do. Come out of GoGuardian for a minute. And yes, Mr. Phillips was explaining that aspect yesterday. And he did tell us. And like I said, right now I can't even get the button I pushed the first time that allowed me to show. All right, let's do this. Screenshot caution. Oh, these are interesting. All right, so we're going to stop wasting time looking at that, and then I'm going to just do the Nearpod review with you instead. And so let's look at that. Now my Nearpod is doing something weird. Uh, okay, nothing is working this morning. It was working and now it's not. All right, let's start all over again. I was trying to do it as a student-centered one, but that was not going to work. So we'll do the teacher-led one. Okay, there's a link for the Nearpod. And while everybody's getting logged into that, before I share, I need to do the attendance. I guess today's just going to be one of those days. Okay. We have is nothing. I don't know what happened to Landon. He was in and now he's not, but he is my missing person. Right, maybe he'll come back. Okay, so hopefully everybody is logged into the Nearpod. And we'll go ahead and get started on that review. All right, we're going to start it right here. Okay. All right, so we're going to look at these pictures. So take a few minutes to look at this. They've got 4 slides for you to look at. And being as we kind of lost some time um, trying to get that worksheet, well, I'll just go ahead and give you the answers with it. So what we're looking here, actually, you all tell me, what is this we're looking at? What are we looking at in general? What is this a picture of? Somebody can type it in the chat. Malik, cell membrane. So it's not cells, it's a cell membrane. So it's an enlargement of the cell membrane. And you all need to get used to looking at pictures like this and being able to identify what it is you're looking at. Okay. All right. So when you see it like this, we know it's a cell membrane because what we're looking at is the biphospholipid layer. So you've got your 2 round parts, which are the heads, and then in between you have the tail of each of those modules. What else do you see in this picture? So this is a cell membrane. What else do you see going on in this picture? Water bubbles, good. And what are these water bubbles doing? Flowing through the membrane. Thank you, Kishan. Wonderful observation. All right, does everybody see that? These are water molecules. We're going to call them molecules and not bubbles. And they are flowing through the cell membrane. So you have some on the top and you have some on the bottom. And we're going to assume that the bottom is the outside and they're trying to go inside. Okay, so that's that picture. All right, let's look at this one. Tell me what you see here. So again, we're still looking at, actually, let me go ahead and explain this one. So we are still looking at the cell membrane, and this one is labeled for you. So it labels the biphospholipid layer. And remember, that means that there's the heads are hydrophilic and the insides are hydrophobic. So that means they're going to, when the water goes through, it's just going to go through. It's not going to want to stay in the middle there. It's going to want to just keep passing through. You have your big things embedded in the cell membrane. So these are our protein channels. So down to the bottom, they show you that there's a protein channel, and then we have carrier proteins. And they show you that they have receptor sites at the top and the bottom so that the molecule actually knows that it can sit on that site and it lets the receptor know that this molecule needs to get in. Okay, so if it fits on the receptor site, it will let it in. If it doesn't fit, it won't. Okay, so it is still selectively permeable. That's another word we need to remember, selectively permeable, which means the cell membrane selects what it wants to let in and it selects what it wants to let out. Okay. So those are our transport proteins. So there's a channel protein and the ones that actually open and close. Okay, the carrier proteins. So that's what we're looking at here. Let's see, what else can I say about this? So several of the pictures show you how the molecules fit on these carrier proteins and they're able to be brought inside the cell. Okay. All right, and again, in the bottom corner, they showed you hydrophobic and hydrophilic ends of the molecule. And then again, it shows you where it fits in the cell membrane. All right, the next one is just another version of that. It's showing you that carbohydrates are kind of large, and proteins and molecules and fat molecules, and how they're trying to get through the cell membrane. And last but not least is another membrane showing you molecules that are being sent through a channel protein. So that big blue structure is a channel protein. All right, that being said, we're not going to stop and let you write on the board. We're just going to move on. All right. It says in the immune system, you're going to watch a video that relates to active transport. It says, as you watch, think about the following questions. One, what is occurring? What organelles are involved? So you remember you have your whole list of organelles and what they do. And then what do you think what do you think is needed in order for the observations you see to occur as far as cell is concerned? Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and play this. Watch that cell in the middle. I'm going to play. It looked like it repeated itself anyway. All right, I'm going to play it again. In particular, what you want to watch is the cell in the middle of the screen. And what it does. And then let's see if we can use our vocabulary words to describe. All right, so on this page, now this time I do want you to write. So I need everybody who's logged in to have an answer to the question. Okay, so it will tell me. Okay, so I'll come back to that later. And I am going to upload the answers to the question. So everybody needs to have answered the question. While you were watching, think about the vocabulary words. Think about the words that mean materials are being brought in and materials being pushed out. Use your vocabulary words to describe what you just saw in that video. I'll give you another 3 minutes. All right, so everybody should have a response to this question in the next 3 minutes before I move on. And when I say use your vocabulary words, we got those E words, those 2 E words. Use those in your discussion. Again, is this active transport? Is it passive transport? What just happened? right. Only person that's okay, here we go. So we're still waiting on quite a few of you to answer the question. So when I upload this, it's going to say no answer. Okay, Isabella, I like that. Yeah, you still didn't use those two E words, but I like your answer. All right. So the three people who have answered the question have made a good point of saying that this is active transport because yes, it is actively bringing objects inside. So this tells me that we need to talk about this. All right. You had a large cell in the center was a human macrophage cell, which is part of the immune system. Okay, so your immune system is trying to, what it's really trying to say is the thing that's responsible for catching all the germs, all the bacteria, all the things that can harm you. Those cells are responsible for engulfing. Okay, so the term engulfing, I was trying to get you to use the term endocytosis. To engulf it, it actually stretch out part of its body, made a vacuole around it and pulled it into the cell. All right, it says it's engulfing sheep blood cells because the sheep's blood cells are considered an invasion or foreign cell. And that's what your body does. If it determines that something is foreign and it wants to get rid of it, it will engulf it or eat it and take it in by endocytosis. It will engulf it. Now, the question asks you, what structure would you need? You're going to need some enzymes that are going to dissolve this and break it down. And then what it will do is once it's dissolved and broken down, it'll spit it back out. So that's exocytosis. So y'all need to learn those two words and recognize what whether it's coming in and going out. So I'm going to show that video again so that you can, and then this time I'll talk through it. All right, so that's cell. So they said that this is a macrophage in the middle, and all the little round things that are bouncing around are foreign cells. They're blood cells, but they're foreign to this organism. So what it has done is it's drawn it inside. And once it gets inside the cell, it will digest it. So you see that I'm gonna pause it right there. Let me go back just a little bit. I can do that. All right, at the very top here, it looks like the cell membrane has these extensions, and all it did was extend itself so that it can wrap itself around those cells. And once it does that, it pulls it inside. So the passage explained that it's engulfing all of those, as many of those red blood cells as it can. And once it gets inside the cell, enzymes will break down the contents of that, and then they'll spit out the waste products. All right, so I'm going to go on to the next part. All right, so what you need to remember is that we have two types of active transport. One has an active transport with a protein pump, meaning that you need some little energy molecules to actually make those doors open and close. And then you have endocytosis and exocytosis, which is the cell membrane doing it. So there's two ways. It can actively be brought in through the cell membrane through those little channels, proteins, or the whole cell membrane can bring it in and push it out like we did in the video you just saw. Let's see if we can get through all of this.
Recall that there are two types of cellular transport, passive and active. Passive requires no added energy, but active does require added energy. Active transport also moves from an area of low concentration to an area of high concentration or up the concentration gradient. This is the opposite of passive transport, and because it's more difficult, it needs the energy molecule called ATP, which stands for adenosine triphosphate, because there's an adenosine molecule and three phosphate molecules. There are three types of active transport: membrane pumps, endocytosis, and exocytosis. Let's look at membrane pumps first. Membrane pumps are just carrier proteins that move substances from areas of low concentration to areas of high concentration. Let's look at the sodium-potassium pump to see how it works. Outside the cell, there's a high concentration of sodium ion, or Na+. The brackets represent the word concentration. Inside the cell, there's a high concentration of potassium ion, or K+. The cell has ion channels that will allow these ions to diffuse and reach equilibrium, but the cell doesn't actually want that. It wants to keep a difference in concentration. So the sodium-potassium pump will force more sodium out and more potassium in all the time. Let's see how this works. First, 3 sodium ions from the cytosol bind to the protein, and a phosphate group from ATP breaks off into carrier protein. This provides energy for the shape of the protein to change, and the sodium ions can be released into the outside of the cell. Now 2 potassium ions will enter the pump, which causes the phosphate to break off and return the pump to its original shape and release the potassium into the cytosol. Again, sodium will diffuse into the cell on its own, and potassium will diffuse out. The pump forces the sodium to be outside the cell and the potassium to be inside the cell. Another way that cells do active transport is through vesicle movement, either endocytosis or exocytosis. Endocytosis brings items into the cell, and exocytosis pushes them out of the cell. Endocytosis is the process by which cells ingest external fluid, macromolecules, or other large particles, even other cells. We can be more specific about what materials undergo endocytosis. Phagocytosis is where large particles or whole cells are ingested, and pinocytosis is when solutes or fluids are ingested. You can think of phagocytosis as cell eating and pinocytosis as cell drinking. Here you can see the way it works. First, the cell membrane begins to pinch around the substances, and eventually it forms a vesicle, which can carry the substance to any part of the cell. Exocytosis is basically the opposite of endocytosis. It's a process by which a substance is released from a cell through a vesicle that transports it to the cell surface and fuses with the cell membrane. A vesicle can merge with the cell membrane because they're both made of phospholipids. The layers press into each other, and the phospholipids rearrange a little so that they can open up their contents to the outside of the cell. Again, this requires energy, so it's classified as one of the types of active transport.
Okay. All right. That finished just in time. So again, you need to know that there's passive transport that does not require energy, and basically the molecules are just flowing back and forth across the membrane, or it's just going through one of those channel proteins, and that was facilitated, but does not require energy. Okay. Active transport requires energy. The energy molecule is called ATP, and it attaches itself to one of those molecules and actively opens and closes to let molecules in and out. So energy is required for that. And that's the one that they showed you that the word you have to remember is the potassium sodium pump. It's called a pump. potassium sodium pump. That is active transport. And that's for potassium and sodium. For everything else, you want to worry about endocytosis and exocytosis, how you bring the molecules in and how you let the molecules out. Okay. All right, we're not going to worry about that review page. I'm going to find a different way to go through that tomorrow with you. But this is the review part on transport, cellular transport. So we'll do the organelles a little bit tomorrow as well. And then that means next week we're going to have a unit test. Okay. All right, we good? Any questions? Any questions? All right then. So I will see you Friday.